Hello, hello, hello. Colonel Phineas T. Farquhar here, and we're out here in the beautiful mountains, and today we took a little tour, and I'd like to take you along with us. Went to Calpine Geothermal steam fields, where they generate a lot of electricity, and it was quite fascinating. I'd like to thank Tim, our narrator. He's the operations engineer at the steam fields. The man in the control room, his name is Jeff. He's the control room operator. There's another guide on the tour with Sam and Jerry, our driver. And at one segment of where we were at an elevation of 3,765 feet, and it was bloody cold. It was bloody cold. That will probably be in the second part, because this is quite lengthy. The video in the beginning, I didn't really start the video. I was just running the camcorder with the lens cover on, because just trying to pay attention to what was going on and stuff. And when we finally got to our destination, then I began to film. So stay tuned. It's lengthy. I'll probably put it up in a few parts. So jolly good. Somewhere over there it is. There's Cobb Mountain. We were on the other side of that, nearly, or actually in the other county. So over there's lots of geological steam fields, and so follow along, enjoy the trip.
Back in the 20s, the generator outside the visitor center that was put in, that was for the old resort. But the first commercial power was in 1960 in a plant that PG&E built, and it's been growing ever since. That plant, that was plant 1. Plant 1 through 4 have been taken out, kind of obsolete. They were kind of an experiment anyway. Plant 1 was kind of unique. It was a turbine that had been built in the 1920s. It went into a ship, and it had a very short life for a ship turbine. It only was in the ship for less than 10 years. And then PG&E bought it for a small power plant, and then in the late 50s they disposed of that power plant and sent that turbine to the junkyard. But then they had this contract with a fellow by the name of B.C. McCabe, who was a lumberman who had come to and saw the geysers and saw potential for the geothermal steam and to make electricity. And he'd gone to PG&E's corporate office and kind of strong-armed PG&E into signing a contract to use geothermal power. And it was kind of like, yeah, right, that'll never work. And they said, well, you need to drill enough wells to produce the steam that we're going to need for a power plant, and you need to produce it for 6 months. And they figured after 6 months the steam would all bleed off and there'd be nothing left. So they had all those wells blowing wide open for 6 months, and at the end they shut them in, and the pressure was all still there. So they were forced to build one, and they had a very limited time in which they had to build a power plant. Guys go, where are we going to get a turbine that quick? We can't get a turbine that quick. And somebody says, well, you know, there's that one we sent to the junkyard. Let's go buy it back from the junkie. So that turbine went back into Unit 1, and it produced power until about 1990 when it was finally shut down. So it was long, three different lives. Yeah. You're going to go to the left?
Yeah, we're going up there and then left again.
You're going to go left and then, then left again on Socrates Mine Road. So that was Unit 1. And then the oldest unit we have today is 5 and 6, which we just had a fire back in November, which burned down the cooling tower, unfortunately. But we've got Unit 5 back up and running, and Unit 6 should be back up and running in a couple weeks, right, Sam?
Yeah.
May, sometime early May.
I think they're setting the rotary for
Today, or this? Okay. Yeah, it's going to be nice. We'll have a nice brand new fiberglass cooling tower. Nicest tower on the hill. The plant we're going to go to first is West Fort Flat. It's one of the newest plants. It was built in all of our plants are at least 20 years old, if not older. The newest plant is Adlin, that's 89, so that would make, 20...
How many plants you got?
How many plants? We got 1 through 20 minus 15, so that makes 19 plants.
Well, we have 15 in operation right
Yeah, but if you count, 9 and 10 are out, so that's the 8. That'd be 17. What else am I missing?
now.
50. Yeah. What's that? 1 and 2. 1 is Adlin, 2 is Bear Canyon, 3 is Westward Flat or Sonoma, 4 is Westward Flat. Then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are out of service. Then 11, 12, 13, so 17 plants. Now, that's kind of a little misleading because it depends on what you call a plant. Some of the plants, like 5 and 6, are a turbine and generator. Well, Adlin and Westford Flat and Bear Canyon are all 2 turbines and 2 generators. So it's not a real simple answer. And some of the units have 2 turbines and 1 generator. So it's a little bit, it's hard to answer that question with a straight face.
So they're not all online?
No, they're all online except for 9 and 10. So we got 17 what we call units, but that's like 21, I think it is, different generators actually generated. We make about 700 megawatts. What was the question?
That was my question.
Oh, 700, about 700. It's, it varies with the season. It varies like.
Last year's average was 686.
See, he's got all the numbers back there. He's probably cheating and looking at the paper.
Hey, I did it between the training session. That was just the gross average.
So that includes outages and everything else too. So, but on a typical day, if all the plants are running, we'll be around 700. If it's a really cool morning, things will be a little more efficient, and we'll peak at about 725. They figure 700 megawatts is good for about 700,000 people. So about the size of San Francisco. Pretty much all the power that we provides power from the Golden Gate Bridge north to Eureka, where there's another power plant up there that PG&E runs off the old. It's where their old nuclear plant was. They converted it to gas. And I was told recently they converted that to gas engines instead of a boiler. So what other questions? Oh, water. Water's a big part of our thing. We inject water from 2 different, there's like 4 different sources of water. First of all, there's the water that we make from the steam that we condense in the power plant. That water gets reinjected. That's about 20% of the steam that comes in. The other 80% ends up being evaporated in the cooling tower as part of the cooling process of the power plant. So we inject about 20% of that water, and then we make that up with, in the wintertime when it's raining, which we got a little bit of water this year, but not much, from the creek extraction. And then the next source of water is from Lake County. When you flush the toilet there at the visitor center, it goes to the Middletown treatment plant, and from the Middletown treatment plant, it gets pumped into a pipeline which we re-inject.
Question, we drive along back there, there's a pipeline in the fields. Is that part of the supply line for this?
That is the sprinkler system for the Middletown treatment plant, which was used before the pipeline was built.
Oh, okay.
And would be used if for some reason the pipeline was down long enough that we couldn't take the water. They would irrigate that field.
Okay.
Again, but that hasn't been used since '97.
Oh, okay. Been driving past here for times and wondered what that was, you know. So.
I thought it was a dragon. Somebody had it made up like a dragon.
Oh, did they?
That was cute.
Good for Chinese New Year. You know.
Somebody put a dragon head on one end of it and a tail on the other end.
And in dollars and cents. Cost of producing electricity compared to other methods.
Is this where we're heading over? I'm not sure here.
No, further up.
Whoa, whoa.
Further up.
Yeah, no, next one. Next one. Oh, that's the entrance break.
Yeah.
You would not like it if you went up it. This roads get really narrow. You would yell at me. been a couple of years for us.
They did this one for
Well, he stayed on this
That's it, Socrates Mine Road. So the cost to produce power. Our cost is pretty much it comes from the drilling of the wells, which once you've done it, so you got to look at what does it cost to make a megawatt today. It's just basically labor and chemicals and materials to keep things going. Because that other cost is the sunk cost. But if we want to keep the field going, we got to continually re-drill. So that's where it becomes more expensive, because drilling costs are associated more with oil right now, and we're competing when it comes to rigs with oil technology. So we're paying some pretty premium prices on drilling costs these days compared to what we
How
have in
deep
the
do you have
past.
to drill?
The wells average, the shallowest wells are just a few hundred feet, but that's in the old part of the field, and up to about 12,000 feet. So we're not as deep as some oil wells, but our technology is a little bit different too. We drill the well to begin with on mud, just like you would an oil well, and then when we get down to the reservoir, we have to stop drilling on mud to remove all the mud out of the hole and go to air. And we drill with air, so that gets really abrasive, because now you've got sonic velocities down in the wellbore, and all those particles of rock are sandblasting everything, all your drill pipe and everything, and you wear that out. So that's another much more expensive process than it would be if we were drilling on an oil well. But the basic technology, the bits, the drill pipe, the collars, the rig, all that is the same technology as an oil well.
So it's not costing 1/3 the cost of coal burner.
The cost really is in the environmental cost. The CO2 we produce is much less than coal or a natural gas fired plant. Something that would be a lower CO2 imprint than us would be either hydro or solar or wind or nuclear. That's what our thing is, that we have a very low CO2 emission. There is a little bit of CO2. There's non-decibel gases in the steam that are mostly CO2, but that's a very small
We've got
part.
lots of trees to take care of that stuff.
It all adds up.
This is our thing.
We are changing the environment with CO2.
I'll talk to you for hours and days.
Yeah, you may not believe it, but we are. So, yes,
We have a lot of earthquakes up here.
yes,
They're not come.
Okay.
We have a lot of earthquakes.
Yes. There are two reasons for the earthquakes. One of them that are associated with us. First of all, most of our earthquakes are called micro-earthquakes. They're very small compared to what you would feel if you had, like Loma Prieta or whatever, that major damage. Earthquakes are on the Richter scale. The Richter scale is an order of magnitude. So a magnitude earthquake of 4 is 1/10 the magnitude of one that's 5. It's 1/100th the one that's 6 and on. So 1906 earthquake was magnitude 8 in San Francisco. So our biggest quake is about a 4.
Yeah, 'cause from Palmerston was the earthquake capital of the world.
And you came to the micro earthquake capital of the world. You feel them, but they don't do they do some minor, not minor. I like to say they don't do any damage, but they do minor. They come from when we extract the steam, we get settlement, and you get a little bit from that, and then when we inject the water, we quench the rock, and we get more earthquakes from that. So we do create earthquakes, but they are pretty small. Whoa, back up, stop.
Is this up
Yep, this is it. Thank you, Sam. Somebody's got to pay attention.
I wasn't sure if we were going left or left there.
Well, the bus seems to be going pretty good, though, so we'll probably make it all the way to the top today.
Check it out,
Every time
yeah.
we have- That's unit 16 over there.
Yeah.
You guys got a beautiful day, because I thought we were going to wake up to nothing but clouds and rain.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than giving a tour when you can't see nothing but clouds. So we got a beautiful day.
Yeah, we've turned the earthquake thing into a guessing game. It's like the scoring in the Olympics or something. I'll go 2.8, 2.7,
Yeah.
and then go look it up on the website.
We do the same thing at the office. Every time I get a good one, I yell across the hallway to Craig, who's our seismologist, and I think, Craig! But yeah, we do have earthquakes. They are a part of the process. We're trying to, we've hired a seismologist with the idea of trying to figure it out what we can do to minimize them.
They're not bad. It's just that
Well, I can imagine what they're like in the middle of, because I used to live in Riviera, and we get some off the Canocta Bay fault, I think it's called, and we've had them in the middle of the night, wakes you up. I can imagine it's a little bad when maybe you get used to that, getting woke up in the middle of the night. I don't know, but the first time I ever felt one in the middle of the night, it was like, whoa. So.
I thought we were like when we have more.
We live out in Buckingham Peninsula, and you can't keep the pictures on the wall straight.
Yeah.
You don't feel them.
Oh.
But obviously,
From the Canocta, yeah, I'll open the gate for you.
Is that what's happening, Chuck? He says, so that's what's happening. Yep.
That's another downside. About here.
Sulfur. Before we get out, because it's gonna be a little noisy out there, I'll explain how all this works. This thing right in front of us here is called our Stretford process. One of the emissions we have is H2S. Does anybody smell like a rotten egg smell right now? How do you get it? Yeah, I don't smell it. Well, anyway, one of the emissions are the non-condensable gases that are the H2S. And all of our plants have an abatement process, either a Stretford system or a burner unit to handle that H2S. This one and that sulfur ends up going to ag use, most of it, as a soil supplement down in Bakersfield. So next time you eat an almond, you probably got some of our sulfur is what helped that tree grow. And it's done with a process called a catalyst, a vanadium catalyst, where it oxidizes the H2S to water and solid sulfur.
I couldn't hear. NEC gets to look use.
Okay, so this plant's one of many up here. I think one of 15, and we have our own steam field here. I'm, like I said before, one of 4 operators. We run 24/7 around the clock, and rotating shift. This plant house is a little bit unique compared to a couple of the other plants. we have our own, our steam field is separate. We're independent from a lot of the other geyser plants. They're all interconnected steam-wise. So we're, right at this current time, we manage our own steam field and everything you see right here inside the fancy field. Go up to the steam field. So this plant, these are all, this is a DCS, and we can run our plant from here, or we can turn around and operate it over here. We have 2 units, one, unit 2, we put out about 25 to 27 megawatts. Depends on really the ambient conditions. Because with our steam wells, pretty much like most of them, we run wide open. Right, just what you see here and outside our steam field. Each plant has something similar. It might be a little bit different. They've been in the process of all the guys was updating everything with, relatively new computerized systems. That could be kind of ran from a central control point over a gap, and we would have operators that roll through the plants and there's a lot of operator meetings we have to go to every day. So they can grab this particular plant, we're just somebody here all the time. And it's been that way, and we're all just good. So, you guys have any questions?
What kind of background?
You know, I really didn't have any special schooling. I went to school for air conditioning and heating and got into heavy industry, and I thought that I was going to be an instrument. And when I was an operator, I kind of stayed with it because as a power plant operator, power plants all over the world, and you're kind of versatile. You can go a lot of places. So my background was really with coal-fired power plants before I came to the geysers about 21 years ago. So my actual schooling has actually helped me out a lot through all my years of working. And you learn a lot as you just do your job. You're a witness to that instrument guys working on things, mechanics working on things, whether you just kind of soak it up. So you actually end up learning a lot if you want. Not everybody does, but
There is a school up at, I don't know, it's on top of Susie's that trains power plant operators. It's not very many. Most guys go into the school of hard knocks. They start off with a power plant, and there they go from, go up, and they work their way through. But most of it's OJT.
and aside from that, the other place would be the Navy.
You know, I'll do
There's a lot of people that come out of the Navy and do power plants. It's actually a great industry to be in, to be honest with you. I never really realized how well it was going to be, other than the fact that I knew that I have a little bit more opportunity as far as jobs go. When I started myself in heavy industry, I started making soda ash. Big chemical plant. Worked for R&D out in the desert. And they had power plants everywhere.
She had a question.
Yes.
Why so many buttons?
lots of different things to start and stop.
Yeah, all the equipment you see out there, pretty much everything can be started and stopped from in here, and that's why. Actually, some of the old power plants had more than this. This is, I mean, it looks like a lot, but it's not that much in a grand scale. The newer plants, everything's on the computer, so you're squeezing it all down to a screen, and even though you're looking at this, you still have to have in your head what you have out there.
This plant's kind of different in that it was one of the first plants to be actually controlled by the computer. But when they put it in, they said, we'll never find an operator who can run a computer. We need to put a board here. So this board, when I put it in, it tells the computer, which then tells the equipment to do what it does. But with the older power plant, the board is all they had. And at the time, it just you got to have a board. The plant that just started up here was it didn't have a board. It was 1 year board. And by then, it was just all through the computer. And today, we're going through a process of changing out a lot of the controls in a lot of the power plants. You'll see a board just like this, and now it's just got a lot of plants. That way we're all done. What's that?
Pretty much everything's on
Hardwired.
We don't really shut, unless it's a scheduled maintenance, we just really want to come down, whether we go rotate our standby equipment. So that's basically just a routine schedule. And of course, if there's any issues, it's built into the so that it will happen.
Our plant availability is like mainly most of the time we're very, very reliable. And when it's not what it costs, the last time a rig was actually on a well here for steam, and we did the old new injection well to service the plant about 5 years ago. And it's been over 10 years since the rig has been on the well.
Yeah, this has been a great steam field right here. Which has been really good. I mean, I'm running a lot higher speed rates than really anybody else in the guys, so I end up running a little bit more efficient. I have 7 speed modes.
We'll go on to check, we'll see something.
Okay, well, yeah, this is a good place to work.
Any other questions? If you guys walked in that way, why don't you walk around and come back through?
We got one more question.
The screens that he has.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about security for the plant. Any kind of security in place for this plant?
Yes.
Well, you saw I had to get off the bus to open the gate.
Once
Basically,
you're in, you're in.
yeah.
Yeah, I was good to say, yeah, there's already security up in the geysers. No matter
Well,
really where
the
you
main
go.
part of the guys is we're gonna go through another gate, which was actually that stops traffic on the road too.
So Tim, hey, when you go back through here, the turbines, the rotor's sitting out there, couldn't move it because it's carrying it.
All right. Move it along.
Still on this?
Yeah. Getting it right now.
And that collects all the condensate and the steam, like from where it goes from the well to the actual plant here. It cools off to a certain degree, and so there's a certain amount of water in there. We call it condensate, and that's what those things get out right there.
So why do you have
The loops, the expansion loops, for one, it's back pressure, and it also see how that pot's like right at the bottom side of that. It helps collect the water and solids too.
Oh, okay. With the cooling system.
Yeah, that water. Isn't that amazing?
That's just a baby. This one only has 4 stacks, and this one has 4. And the big ones have 12. You guys will see one when we go to the next place. We call these baby plants.
So to take the condensate goes back through that cooling tower?
It either goes back to the cooling tower or it goes to reinjection back down to the ground. You're pretty close on that, okay? But
Your what? All that you see going on.
there's a yellow pipe back there too. Here you see it. On your passenger side. Yeah. It's right behind you. I'm in a spot for you back there. Yeah, I've been on the inside of these things when they're drained all out. There's probably about a foot or 2 of mud in the bottom of them.
Okay, let's go for it before the gate closes. Yeah.
I'm on the too.
All right. Okay, so you're gonna, well, you can go up that way. Yeah, go around. Go around. Here's the main steam separator in the back. The vessel there with the. Are you going to be able to do it? You're not.
Do you want me to go up there?
Yeah, I wanted you to go up there if you could. Can you do that? Can you make that? Okay.
Let me get my belt on so you're not talking over this chattering.
Oh, is that what that is?
That bell. Yeah. All right.
So anyway, that's the main steam separator. So all the steam goes through that.
Right. You'll see the pipeline without insulation.
So all the steam goes through this vessel right here, and this gets cleaned before it goes to the power plant turbine. There's also some on the well pads, but we don't need those here. The steam here in this part of the field is very clean. They didn't really know what they were going to get when they built it, so they installed them on the wellheads to start with.
This water goes from here through the cooling tower?
No, the steam goes through through that vessel, through the turbine, to the condenser, where it gets changed from steam into water, and then the water goes to the cooling tower and gets cooled, and about 80% of that water vapor gets vaporized back in the cooling tower and goes up to this steam in the top of the cooling tower. The other 20% gets re-injected, but the whole cycle for that is from the steam. All the water is from the steam itself. So here's the well pad with 5 steam production wells, and all steam is metered. All the wells in this pad are part of the Moody family, and well, Moody and a couple other families, but and so we have to meter all that steam because we pay a royalty on that steam based on the amount of steam that each well produces.
But this is the Moody family property?
Right. This is the Moody family property we're on right now.
So, but the mineral rights belong to the government?
No, the mineral rights belong to the Moody's.
Okay.
And we pay a royalty to them. We pay royalties on all the steam we produce.
Yeah.
It's owned, about 50% of it's private, about 25% is federal, and about 25% is state. The state part that they own. Are there any teachers on the bus? No. Oh, one teacher. All right. We pay your retirement.
Oh, I'm a retired teacher.
Well, that's very good paid right now then.
All right. I love it.
No, the State Lands Commission runs up most of the revenue. When the U.S. government was set up originally, you can head on back towards that gate. Was set up originally, 2 sections in every 36 in every township were set aside for schools, and it was up to each state to do what they wanted with that land. They could either build a school on it, they could sell it to make money to build schools, or they could keep it And California sold most of it. It was in places like this, though, that nobody wanted to buy it, that they have it. Most of the other land they have is from the oil revenue down near Long Beach offshore. Well, that's state land because it was never sold to anybody because it's under the ocean. I gotta go open the gate.
Well, it's so.
Oh, well, Jeff did it for me. So anyway, the royalties for the state part goes to the teachers. The federal government's part, yeah, now you're going to go straight through and out the other gate. Is part of it comes back to the counties and stuff. And like I said, most of it though, about 50% is for private parties, and a lot of those were hunting clubs. You know, people came up here and wanted a place to go hunting. Like one of the families was Beagle, and he was 21 years old. He liked to hunt. He's now probably close to 80. He bought 400 acres up here in the geysers with his dad's help to be able to have a place to go hunting, and they've been getting a nice royalty ever since.